Leo Tolstoy's Anna Karenina, Part 6, in which all our protagonists find the thin veneer of tranquility in their lives tested by family and friends, with farcical and tragic consequences. Chapter 5. Varvara Andreevna, when I was still very young, I made up for myself an ideal of the woman I would love, and whom I would be happy to call my wife. I have lived a long life, and now for the first time I have met in you what I have been seeking. I love you, and offer you my hand. Sergei Ivanovitch was saying this to himself when he was just 10 steps away from Varenka, kneeling down and protecting a mushroom from Grisha with her hands. She was calling little Masha. "Here, here, there are small ones, lots," she said in her sweet, mellow voice. Seeing Sergei Ivanovitch approaching, she did not get up and did not change her position, but everything told him that she felt him approaching and was glad of it. "So, did you find any?" she asked, turning her beautiful, quietly smiling face to him from behind the white kerchief. "Not one," said Sergei Ivanovitch. "And you?" She did not answer him, busy with the children around her. "That one too, by the branch." She pointed Masha to a small mushroom, its resilient pink cap cut across by a dry blade of grass it had sprung up under. She stood up when Masha picked the mushroom, breaking it into 2 white halves. "This reminds me of my childhood," she added, stepping away from the children with Sergei Ivanovitch. They went on silently for a few steps. Varenka saw that he wanted to speak. She guessed what it was about, and her heart was gripped by the excitement of joy and fear. They went far enough away so that no one could hear them, and still he did not begin to speak. It would have been better for Varenka to remain silent. After a silence, it would have been easier to say what they wanted to say than after talking about mushrooms. But against her own will, as if inadvertently, Varenka said, "So you didn't find any? But then there are always fewer inside the wood." Sergei Ivanovitch sighed and made no answer. He was vexed that she had begun talking about mushrooms. He wanted to bring her back to her first words about her childhood, but, as if against his will, after being silent for a while, he commented on her last words. "I've heard only that the white boletus grows mostly on the edge, though I'm unable to identify it." Several more minutes passed. They went still further away from the children, and were completely alone. Varenka's heart was pounding so that she could hear it, and she felt herself blush, then turn pale, then blush again. To be the wife of a man like Koznishev, after her situation with Mademoiselle Stahl, seemed to her the height of happiness. Besides, she was almost certain that she was in love with him, and now it was to be decided. She was frightened that he would speak, and that he would not. He had to declare himself now or never. Sergei Ivanovitch felt it too. Everything in Varenka's gaze, color, lowered eyes, showed painful expectation. Sergei Ivanovitch saw it and pitied her. He even felt that to say nothing now would be to insult her. In his mind he quickly repeated all the arguments in favor of his decision. He also repeated to himself the words in which he wished to express his proposal, but instead of those words, by some unexpected consideration that occurred to him, he suddenly asked, And what is the difference between a white boletus and a birch boletus? Varenka's lips trembled as she answered. There's hardly any difference in the caps, but in the feet. And as soon as these words were spoken, both he and she understood that the matter was ended, and that what was to have been here said would not be said, and their excitement, which had reached its highest point just before then, began to subside. In the birch boletus, the foot resembles a 2-day growth of beard on a dark-haired man, Sergei Ivanovitch said calmly now. Yes, that's true, Varenka replied, smiling, and the direction of their walk changed inadvertently. They began going towards the children. Varenka was both hurt and ashamed, but at the same time she had a sense of relief. On returning home and going through all the arguments, Sergei Ivanovitch found that his reasoning had been wrong. He could not betray the memory of Marie. Quiet, children, quiet, Levin shouted angrily at the children, standing in front of his wife in order to protect her, when the bunch of children came flying to meet them with shrieks of joy. After the children, Sergei Ivanovitch and Varenka also came out of the wood. Kitty had no need to ask Varenka. From the calm and somewhat embarrassed expressions on both their faces, she understood that her plans had not worked out. Well, what happened? Her husband asked as they went back home. Didn't bite, said Kitty, her smile and manner of speaking resembling her father's, something Levin often noticed in her with pleasure. Didn't bite, meaning what? Like this, she said, taking her husband's hand, putting it to her mouth and touching it with unopened lips, like kissing a bishop's hand. But which of them didn't bite? He said, laughing. Neither, and it should have been like this. Their music's coming. No, they didn't see. If you enjoy this format, please leave a like and subscribe and return tomorrow for the next chapter.